Hello beautiful people of the internet, welcome back to another video. My name is Hannah if you're new here, and I'm so excited that you joined me today. For today's video, we are going to be doing a part 2 to a video that I just recently did about my top favorite thrillers, and 34,000 of you have watched that video, and I feel like a lot of you found my channel through that video, and so that means a lot of you also like to read thrillers, which I'm so glad that a bunch of thriller readers have found my channel because you guys are my people. So I thought, why not do a part 2? Now, if you're looking for my top tier favorite, all-time favorite thrillers, go watch part 1 because those are my top tier 5 stars ride or die thrillers. But this video is going to be more of like my 4.5 solid good thrillers that I think that anybody would enjoy. I do want to give a disclaimer though, because I feel like I did this in the first video as well. Thrillers are not for everyone. Okay, let me say that again. Thrillers are not for everyone. If they're not for you, that's totally fine. But I would recommend that if you are newer to the genre, to go in with a more toned down thrillers. There are going to be a few thrillers in here that are more toned down and are easier for beginners. But some of these have some pretty hard content warnings, so please use Storygraph, look up your content warnings, especially if you have things that bother you in books, like we all do. I am just here to tell you some thrillers that I love. Does not mean that you're gonna love them. These are mine. Let's go ahead and dive in. Okay, in the last video, I did like a top 10 where I went from 10 to 1 and I told you my favorite thriller of all time. I'm not going to do that in this video because obviously these are all in the same playing field. They all were solid reads for me, but I am going to do 10 of them. Coming in at number 10 is In a Dark, Dark Wood by Ruth Ware. And I also mentioned a couple of Ruth Wares in my previous video, but this is another one of her backlist that I thoroughly enjoyed. This one is following our main character Nora, who gets an invitation from her best friend Claire to attend her hen party, which if you didn't know, Ruth Ware's thrillers are British, and she's really weirded out by this because she's not heard from Claire in 10 years. But she decides to go anyway, and when she gets there, things take a sinister turn. I will say I am a hardcore ride or die fan for Ruth Ware's backlist, so if you're also like me, I would definitely give this one a try. Okay, I'm going to cheat just a little bit because at number 9 I'm going to add 2 books, but they're by the same author, so I feel like that counts. The first one I want to mention is Everyone Here is Lying, and this is by Shari Lapena. This is following the case of a missing 9-year-old girl, and the last person to see her alive was her father, but her father isn't really telling all of the details because they got in a fight before she went missing. And so now we're trying to figure out if the father is telling the truth or where the daughter is. Nobody knows anything. Everyone here is lying. This was so well written and definitely one of my favorites by Shari Lapena. Another one that I do want to mention by Shari Lapena that is also so good is Not a Happy Family. This one is following 3 adult siblings who are under investigation for potentially murdering their very rich parents. This one was full of rich people drama, guys, and I know a lot of you like the rich people drama just like I do. This one delivered it. I will say the top tier way to consume both of those books would be through audiobook. The audiobook for those were Chef's Kiss. Speaking of another great audiobook, coming in at number 8 is The Therapist by B.A. Paris. B.A. Paris is definitely an author that I always forget that I love their books so much. Every book that I've ever picked up by them, I just really enjoy it. This one is following our main characters Alice and Leo, and they have moved into this gated community, this very rich part of town, and they move into their new home and they're so excited about it. And then our main character Alice starts learning more secrets about the house and the therapist that lived there before. This one is very sinister and creepy, and I loved this audiobook. Let's talk about a classic thriller. Oh my gosh, throwing it back. This is one of the first thrillers that I read when I first got into reading thrillers, and that is The Woman in the Window by A.J. Finn. And I feel like I'm not alone. Please let me know down below if like this was one of your OG thrillers, because I feel like at one time everybody was reading this. I feel like this gives like Girl on the Train and Gone Girl vibes, like everybody has read it at least once. If you haven't though, I highly recommend it. This one has the classic trope of the nosy neighbor, the woman who has way too much time on her hands and watches her neighborhood through the window, and she gets a little bit too involved, too invested in her neighbors' affairs and neighbors' scandals, and things go off the rails. This one also has a movie adaptation, and I will say I feel like they did pretty well with the movie adaptation and how close it was to the book. So if you read the book, you can also watch the movie. Coming in at number 6 is an oldie but a goodie, and this is Insomnia by Sarah Pinborough. Sarah Pinborough has such a way of making your brain absolutely explode. This is one of those books that you're going to be just staring at the wall when you're finished reading it. This book follows our main character, Emma, and Emma is about to celebrate her 40th birthday, which should be a really exciting time for her and her family, but it isn't, because her mother, when she turned 40, started having insomnia and went clinically insane. And so now Emma is terrified that when she turns 40, something is going to happen to her like that, and it does. Again, this will have you staring at the wall, questioning everything when you're done with it. These next two that I'm going to mention, I have just recently read. Like, I literally read both of these this past month, and they're in this list. Let's talk about another rich people drama. Let's talk about The Block Party by Jamie Day. This is following a bunch of suburban neighbors who get together on Memorial Day to have their annual block party, and murder takes place. What sets this one apart, I feel like that I loved it so much, it kept me on the edge of my seat. I was gripping the edge of my chair most times, and I could not get through this book fast enough. The chapters were so short and they were so entertaining. What set this one apart for me, and I feel like what made it so addicting, you were getting multiple perspectives from the people that live in this neighborhood, including one of the teenage daughters, which I thought was so unique. I will say, this is one that has some pretty unhinged content in it, so please proceed with caution with this one. Number 4 is another one that I actually just recently read, and it was so much fun, and that is The Weekend Retreat. This one follows 3 siblings and their spouses, so 3 different couples go on a weekend getaway to celebrate 2 of their birthdays. And this is just so much fun. They're having so much fun in their little vineyard. They're just having so much fun basking in their wealth and talking about stories and talking about business. And then all of a sudden, things start happening. I didn't know much going into this book, and that's all I'm going to tell you, because I feel like that helped my experience with it, because this book goes off the rails. Did somebody say unhinged? Because I've got a good one for you. Okay, the next one is The Quiet Tenant. This was one of my top thrillers of 2024, and I feel like I'm not alone in that. This book has raving reviews. This is not for the faint of heart. So if you're going into this one expecting a fun crime story, you're not gonna get that, okay? Because even from the synopsis, it is definitely not one of the basic beginner thrillers, okay? This one's following our main character, Aiden Thomas. He is a working single father who is a family man at heart, until you find out that he is also a kidnapper and a serial killer, and is also keeping a woman in his shed. Before you absolutely click off this video and think Hannah is a psychopath, just know that this book is so much more than that. Okay, it's so much more than that. It's so much more than that, because this man has a daughter, and she has a very important role in this book. And just know there is hope. There is redemption in this story. It's not all just doom and gloom. There is hope, there is redemption for these characters. Just know that. It's a good one. If you are a beginner thriller reader, do not pick up this book. If you are pretty seasoned in reading thrillers, absolutely go for it. But this is definitely not a easy thriller to read at all. And that is Notes on an Execution. I feel like there was a point when this book first came out that this book was all the rage. Everybody was talking about it. Everybody was picking it up, and I got curious. Oh man. This is following a man who is on death row, and throughout this entire book you're just counting down the hours until he is executed because he has killed a ton of women. He is a serial killer, and you are getting this story through the perspective of the different women in his life that have came and loved and known him. You can't see this book at face value, okay? Otherwise, you're not going to get anything out of it. This book made me sob, and it made me feel so many different types of things that, again, this is another one that you're just going to have to sit on for a few days after you read it. There's no big twist. There's no big crazy ending. Like, this is full on just a thrilling ride, and it's based off of true things that can actually happen. And it was very emotional. It was a very hard read, but it is one of the best thrillers that I have ever read, and I highly recommend it if you feel like you're up to it. Okay, let's end on a thriller that I feel like anybody can read. Any range of how you read thrillers. This book is not super scary, it's not crazy, it's not gory. This is one of the best thrillers that I've ever read, and again, I recommend this to everyone. And that is The Silent Woods by Kimmy Cunningham Grant. This is, again, one of the best thrillers that I've ever read in my entire life. And it's a different kind of thriller than any of the thrillers that I've talked about today. You're going to get something completely different out of this one than you are the rest of those books. This one is following our main character, Cooper, and Cooper and his daughter live isolated in the Appalachian woods. And as the reader, you don't know why they're living in isolation. You just know that they're there because Cooper is trying to hide something. And he's hiding something from his daughter. His daughter only knows that she has to stay hidden, and he doesn't ever tell her why. Be prepared to ugly cry at the end of this book. And there's also elements of faith weaved in here, which I have never in my life read a thriller that just weaves faith in here. And again, you're going to get so much more from this book that I feel like you'll get from any of those. If you get any recommendations for me today, let it be this one. And there you have it, my friends. Those are more of my top tier thrillers that I absolutely have adored and loved. Please take everything that I have said in this video with a grain of salt. Do your own research. Don't go into a book blind, especially if you are newer to the thriller genre. I know it's not for everyone, and a lot of these books are not going to be for everyone either. So please take that into consideration. If you made it this far into the video, please let me know down below another thriller that you have loved, or maybe one of your favorites that I need to try out. And until next time, my friends, remember this world is a better place with you in it, and I love you so much, and Jesus loves you so much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys!